Sophie and welcome to another weekly reading vlog. I wish I had something interesting to say, but I really don't. Yes, it is the end of the day. Yes, it is dark. Yeah, it's right at the end of Monday, so I really have pushed it to the last minute to start this vlog. But I'm actually starting on a Monday, which is an achievement for me, and you know what, I'll take it. I thought this week I'd try and give myself a bit of a theme. Don't know if that will help me vlog more consistently. It definitely won't help this focus camera any better. I thought I'd give myself a vague kind of theme this week, and I thought I would do that by doing a kind of how much I read in a week, which I kind of do anyway. I think I'm quite honest with how much I actually get through in a week. I'm not a fast reader. I'm not one of these booktubers that's getting through 3 to 4 books in a week, let alone 7 or 8 books in a week. We're a 1 a week optimistically kind of team over here. That's the kind of theme we're going with. So like I said, it's Monday. I do most of my reading in the evening, but this morning I did do a little bit of reading. I can't really have lions anymore because I have to wake up and take my meds at a certain time in the morning, so I'm meant to take them at the same time every day, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because it gets me out of bed and means I have to have breakfast. But pros and cons, I like sleeping. Once I've had my breakfast and my meds, it's then just kind of a waiting game for when my husband wakes up and wants to start the day, because his job is really irregular hours. So when he is home and he doesn't have to wake up, I try not to wake him up because I try to let his body get as much sleep as he wants. So between him taking his time waking up, and then I think it's an all men thing, but he spends so long on the toilet in the morning. So while he was doing that, I did some jobs on my phone. I have to check in on my weight loss app. I did my Duolingo, got that done out of the way, and then I still had some time, so I read a little bit of book in bed this morning. I'm currently reading The Hobbit. I was on page 172 when I fell asleep last night, and I got up to page 200, so I read just short of 30 pages this morning, which isn't too bad. That puts me at the 60% mark. I'm hoping to either finish it tonight or tomorrow. I'm always so optimistic. I'm like, it's only 10 past 10, I can read loads tonight, but then reading sends me to sleep. So realistically, I will start it. I'm in the last 80 pages, so I will either get sucked in and finish it tonight, or I will read my average 30-40 pages and then finish the rest tomorrow. But nearly at the end of The Hobbit. So far today I've read 28 pages and whatever the equivalent of that is in audiobook time, but I don't update my story graph until I'm going to bed, so then I have the total number in one update rather than updating multiple times throughout the day. So I will let you know tomorrow the total number of pages and the equivalent number of minutes I have read. Welcome to this week's vlog. I'm going to give you the breakdown of the pages and everything I read this week, and then that gives me an excuse to end it on a Monday rather than a Sunday, because then I can give you the Sunday data. It's definitely tactical, and not that I always do that anyway. Please tell me what you're reading down in the comments, because I'm always intrigued as to what other people are reading, what it's about, why you picked it, that kind of thing. Would love to hear from you. Lads, I mean this in the least dramatic way possible, but I just don't want to exist today. You know when you just have those days where you just don't want to? I would like to go back to bed and try again tomorrow. I think that's what I want to do, and I know why. I mentioned a couple of vlogs back, I'm really not sure. I've had a whole debacle with my meds and the doctors, and it's been a lot, but I was changed onto a new medication, and the way that I transitioned onto that was by taking half a dose in the morning and half a dose in the evening. And I'd had a follow-up appointment with my doctor yesterday, and she said, okay, I'm gonna up the dose ever so slightly, but now you can take it all in one go. You don't have to do half in the morning, half in the evening. Okay, so I've not got the increased dose from the pharmacist yet because they take a few days, but I've taken my first, what feels like a double dose, but it's like a full dose this morning, and I thought I'd figured out how to combat the nausea and the headaches, and I've just felt so awful. I think I managed it quite well. I did my usual trick of having a bit of breakfast, taking the meds, having a bit more of breakfast, and that kind of probably made it a bit better than it would have been. But then I just started to feel not good, and I actually took some painkillers for once, which I don't normally do, but it was mostly a headache at that point, and I was like, okay, painkillers can fix a headache, I know that. The nausea I know is anxiety related, so I know that nothing's going to touch that, so I'm just going to ignore it. And I had to go back to the doctors to sort out some parking fines, which was just not fun, but at least I don't have to pay them now. They've got those sorted for me. And then I went to the gym. I sat for approximately 20 minutes in my car before I got the energy to go up and go into the gym, but I did it. I went to the gym. I was initially planning just to walk on the treadmill and maybe do a bit of a stretch, but then I was like, actually no, I'm going to do an upper body workout today, and I did the full workout, and I'm glad I did. I don't know if I feel better for it, but I'm glad I did it. And then I'm just, yeah, I've come home and I'm like, I don't want to do anything. I've had some lunch, reluctantly. I've watched a bunch of YouTube, and now I'm trying to motivate myself to film all the TikToks I need to film for this week, and then I've got a TikTok to edit to post today. It's really cold today. I don't know if it's me or my house, or if it's just genuinely really cold. I don't know if there's some sort of storm brewing, but it's been really windy. And I would just like to curl up on my sofa. I've got about 40 pages of The Hobbit left to read, and I need to finish it today so that I can cancel my BookBeat subscription. Otherwise I'm going to get charged for it, and I don't want to pay for it because I've had a 3-month free trial and I've only listened to 2 books, and I feel like that's not worth paying for a full subscription. I could have, at the end of the day, I either could have listened to those books on Spotify, or I could have bought them on Audible for the price that I would pay for listening to them on BookBeat. In terms of an actual update on how much I read yesterday in the end, I think I mentioned that I read about 30 pages in the morning, but by the time I went to sleep I'd read a total of 67 pages, and that equates to 154 minutes of the audiobook of The Hobbit. I have 1 hour, 43 minutes and 45 seconds left, so I'm listening at 1.8 speed, so I'll probably be able to listen to that in about an hour. I would much rather curl up on the sofa and do that this afternoon, but I want to at least film all of these videos. Then I've got therapy at 5, and then Lucas isn't getting home until 1-2 a.m. tomorrow technically, because he's got a late one at work today. So I could stay up late editing, or I could be productive, get my editing done before dinner, and then after dinner just sit and read and chill and have an early night. That would be sensible, but that's probably not what's going to happen. That's my reading update. I'm now going to try and make my face look slightly more presentable, because all of the TikToks I filmed last week I did with no makeup on, and they're fine. I'm trying to be less apologetic about what my face looks like. I do feel better when I put a little bit of makeup on. Gonna do that. Gonna try and muster some energy to film these videos, but I would really like someone to just take all my organs out, I think. I'm bored of my organs making me feel sick all the time. I do have a fun vlog to edit. The vlog that I need to edit to upload today is the one from when we went to Canterbury, and I was really pleased with the footage I got there. I was really channeling my Carrie Can Read. If you don't follow Carrie, I thoroughly recommend. She's a really aesthetic booktuber who lives in Seoul in Korea, and yeah, honestly, she's so cool. I just think she's cool. Fangirling over, I'm going to go film some TikToks now, and then my hope would be that I finish The Hobbit this afternoon and I start a new book this evening. The next book on my pile is The Famous Five, but I don't really want to read it. But the audiobook is only 4 hours and 48 minutes, I believe. I checked the other day, and listening to that on double speed, I can get through that in a couple of hours. Yeah, maybe I just need to get it done. Let's get The Famous Five done, and then The Name of the Wind. Ballet's back on this week, which is exciting, so I will be doing my usual 1 hour of audiobook listening whilst driving to ballet tomorrow evening, and then I'm going to see my mum this weekend, which is a 2-hour drive twice. I will almost certainly finish the audiobook of The Name of the Wind, and I have downloaded options for what's next. Depending on how The Name of the Wind ends, I've got the sequel, The Wise Man's Fear, downloaded, so I can go straight into that if I feel inclined to. But the thing is with this series, the Kingkiller Chronicles series by Patrick Rothfuss, is that The Name of the Wind is a 28-hour audiobook, and its sequel is a 42-hour audiobook, and it's a series that is, I think it's one that's kind of got a cult following, and within that cult there is just quite a lot of, anger's probably the wrong word, but there's some strong feelings, not against the author, but the fact that it's designed to be a trilogy and the third book hasn't been written or released in, and I think the fans have been waiting for like a decade. So I'm like, do I really want to leap straight into this knowing that the ending is going to be really unsatisfying because there isn't a third book in the trilogy? So if that is the case and I don't feel inclined to go straight into the sequel, I have also downloaded a book by Ella May's. I got a box set kind of thing of Ella May's books from the works before Christmas, and I found I think 3 titles are included within the Audible Plus membership, and I think I'm going to start with To Love Jason Thorne because I think that comes before To Hate Adam Connor. I did double check. Feeling very motivated to work on my TBR at the moment because I'm very intimidated by it. C'est la vie, you know. Can only read 1 book at a time. Well, lots of people read more than 1 book at a time, but either way, can only tackle the TBR 1 book at a time, so hello, it is Wednesday evening. I've just got back from my ballet class, hence why I look so red and sweaty, because I am. I would have updated earlier today, but I've just not changed meds again, but just changed how I take them, in line with my doctor's recommendation. I'm not doing anything creative. Things have slightly changed again, so my body is taking some time to adjust, and that at the moment is looking like a lot of headaches, a lot of feeling very sluggish, but I felt the same when I started on these meds, so just kind of riding the wave at the moment. So had a very slow, unproductive day, but last night I finished reading The Hobbit. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I stand by that the audiobook narrated by Andy Serkis is the best audiobook I have ever listened to. His narration is fantastic, all the voices he does, all the songs he sings, the way he just tells the story is just, it's like you're living it. It's fantastic. Thoroughly recommend, if you're going to listen to the audiobook, to listen to that edition. I rated it 4 stars. It just didn't have 5-star vibes, but I did really enjoy it, and I would like to now read the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but I don't own those, so I'm not in a rush to buy them. I might put them on a birthday list or something. To finish off reading The Hobbit, I read 43 pages, which equates to 104 minutes of the audiobook, and then once I'd finished that, I started on my next read, which is the Next Famous 5 book. At this point, I'm trying really hard not to see it as something I have to do, but just a nice little children's palate cleanser. A really nice, easy read, set in the 40s with some very proper English, quintessentially cute British seaside story rather than posh this is how the rich people live. But either way, I read 36 pages of this, which equates to 52 minutes of the audiobook, and I think that's about a 1/5 of the way through, so I'm hoping to make a lot more of a dent in that tonight. So that's what I read yesterday. What I've read today, I did my usual listening to audiobooks on the way to and from ballet. I haven't put it in on Storygraph yet, so I don't know what the exact minutes are, but I listened to approximately an hour, and I now have only 3 hours and 17 minutes left of The Name of the Wind. I think this is going to be a productive reading week, because I've gone from finishing The Hobbit in 6 days and thoroughly enjoying that to reading a really short children's book, so I'm hoping I should be able to get that finished this week. And my next read is this month's book club pick, which is The Player of Games by Ian M. Banks. This is the 2nd book in a series, but having read the summary of book 1, it doesn't sound related in any way, shape or form, so I'm gonna hope for the best. This book is part 2 in a very long series, but sometimes it's better not to start at the beginning. Congratulations and best of luck for the future. Cute. So that implies that I can read this without reading book 1, and I'm going to. So yeah, gonna be a productive reading week this week. I'm determined to make more of a dent in my TBR this month than I have in all of the other TBRs I've had this year. I feel like if I can get up to date on this month's TBR, I can then start to catch up on my backlog. But that is an optimism that I don't think I deserve to have. Either way, I've been rambling for too long, I'm tired and I want to go to bed, so I'll catch up with you tomorrow. Look, I really planned this week's vlog with the best of intentions. I really tried to give myself an anchor to check in with this vlog more regularly, but then I know I've been talking about changing meds for a really long time, but I feel like I'm in the final iteration now. I just need to get used to doing this dose in this amount at this time of day, and like give it another week or so and I will stop mentioning it. I went and spent the weekend with my mum and I wanted to make the most of spending time with her, so I didn't vlog. So I have lots of things to update you on. Last time I spoke to you it was Wednesday evening and I'd just listened to a bit more of The Name of the Wind on my way to and from ballet. So in total I listened to 68 minutes of The Name of the Wind on Wednesday, and then when I got home and I got into bed I read 64 pages, which equates to 94 minutes of 5 Run Away Together, the Third Famous Five book. So that was what I read on Wednesday. Then on Thursday I really was not feeling well. I did not feel well on Thursday at all, and I wasn't up for reading with my eyes. I just wanted to play my stupid little phone farm game, and I was like, you know what, I can listen to The Name of the Wind while doing that. So I ended up listening to 129 minutes of The Name of the Wind, which is over 2 hours in real time, but I was listening on 1.25 speed, so I probably listened for maybe an hour and a half, an hour 45. I've not done the exact maths. And then on Friday is when I drove up to my mum's, and it's about a 2-hour drive, and I had about an hour and a half of slightly sped up listening time on The Name of the Wind left. So I listened to the last 114 minutes of The Name of the Wind. I finally finished The Name of the Wind after 3 months. I can't believe that I genuinely expected myself to read more than one audiobook in. I expected to read 2 audiobooks in January, and this was one of them, and it's now April and I've just finished it. I really enjoyed it. I rated it 4 stars. I've seen a lot around the kind of context of the Kingkiller Chronicles series and how it's unfinished, and how people love book 1 and book 2, but their frustration for them comes from wanting book 3 so desperately and having waited over a decade for it. So I'm kind of anticipating feeling let down by the end of book 2, because by the sounds of it, people are desperate to read book 3, which isn't a thing. Yeah, really enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it more towards the end than I did at the beginning, but I definitely want to take a break before I listen and read The Wise Man's Fear, which is book 2 in the series. But yeah, I will definitely be reading it. I've used a credit on Audible, so I have the audiobook, and then I went on Amazon to see how much a copy would cost, whether it was physical or ebook, and it was in some sort of deal, and I got the ebook for 99p, so can't argue with that. So I will probably co-read that at some point, because if I leave it just to audiobook reading, I'll never finish it, because the sequel is 42 hours long, I think. So I finished The Name of the Wind on my drive up to my mum's, and then that evening I managed to read 17 pages, which equates to 25 minutes of 5 Run Away Together. On Saturday I was super tired, there was no driving. I managed 18 pages, which is 26 minutes of 5 Run Away Together. We had quite a busy day on Saturday, so by the time I'd got to bed and done everything I needed to do, my Duolingo, all of those things, yeah, did not have much brain space left for reading. And then that brings us up to today. Obviously I've not been to bed yet. It is clearly dark because the lighting is terrible, but I did have the 2-hour drive home today, and I decided I'm not going to read The Wise Man's Fear straight away, because like I said, it would take me absolutely years if I read it just on audio. So I think I'm going to co-read that at some point. So I'd found another book from my TBR that's included in the Audible Plus catalogue, and that is To Love Jason Thorne by Ella Mays. I bought a box set of Ella Mays books from the works before Christmas, mostly on a whim. I didn't really know anything about this, but it was free on Audible, and I was like, you know what, ticks 2 boxes. I get to use Audible and it's a TBR book, so wins all round. I listened to 168 minutes of this, and at first I was like, this is a little bit cringy, I don't know if I'm gonna love this. It's a contemporary romance, very stereotypical, but it started with the characters aged, I want to say that in the first section they were 7 and 11, then in the second section I think they were 14 and 18, and now they are 22 and 26. So the first couple of sections I was like, oh my god, this is going to be so cringy, but then now that it's into the more new adult section, I've settled into the writing style a bit more, and yeah, it's just generally very listenable. I managed to listen to 25% of this book in one drive today, and that's what I needed after The Name of the Wind. I needed something that was a bit shorter, that I could get a bit more of a quick win on. That's everything I've read so far this week. I will do a little update tomorrow morning just to update you on what I read tonight, because I'm really hoping I'm going to finish the Famous Five book tonight, because they're so short and they're children's books. In my head I'm like, I should be able to read these in like 2 sittings tops, but every time I read a Famous Five book it takes me longer than anticipated. I have an hour and a half left and I'm listening to it at 2 times speed, so 45 minutes. So if I get a shuffle on and go to bed, I can almost certainly finish that and make a start on my next read. That's the update. My battery light's been flashing for a few minutes now, so I'm definitely testing the waters. Is that the right phrase? I'm on thin ice, that's the phrase I'm looking for. Sorry I didn't update all week. That's a big update. I'll do an outro tomorrow. I think most of this vlog has happened from this room, so I hope that's consistent and not boring. But as you can tell, the lighting is much better, so it is the following morning. It is now Monday, and I always finish these vlogs on a Monday, so at least this time I have somewhat of a reason. I really wanted to finish the Famous Five last night, but I was so tired by the time I went to bed that I managed to read 29 pages, which is 40 minutes of the audiobook, before I fell asleep. But when I woke up this morning, while I was eating my breakfast, I did finish the last 38 pages, so I have now finished the Famous Five, but obviously it's Monday, not Sunday, so it will count to next week's wrap-up, not this week's wrap-up. But that's fine, because the books I did finish this week, I get to say books. I finished more than one book in a week, which is potentially the first time I've done that this year. I've been quite consistent with doing one book a week this year, so to have 2 is very exciting. So the first book I finished was The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. I rated it 4 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think the audiobook that was narrated by Andy Serkis is the best audiobook I have ever listened to, hands down. It was so engaging. All the voices he did, there was loads of singing as well. It was just fantastic. It was like, for me, it felt like watching a film but without the visual, obviously. It was just brilliant, and it has now convinced me to read the Lord of the Rings trilogy, because there is also audiobooks narrated by Andy Serkis. So if anyone wants to buy me the Lord of the Rings trilogy, please do, because I thoroughly enjoyed The Hobbit, and I might be going into my Tolkien era. I definitely know I'm late to it, but I might be going into my Tolkien era. So that was the first book I finished this week, and then the second book was the audiobook that I've been listening to since January the 9th. I did the maths. I've been listening to this audiobook for 94 days. It took me 94 days to finish this audiobook. Obviously I didn't listen to it on every single one of those 94 days, especially where for most of that period I didn't own a physical edition. And to be fair, even though I now own a physical edition, I didn't use this to finish reading it. I finished it an hour and a half into my 2-hour drive on Friday, and again I think this is another 4 stars for me. It's another one that if I did half and quarter ratings it would definitely be nearer the 5-star mark, definitely a 4.5 or a 4.75, but it just didn't quite have the 5-star energy for me. But I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed seeing and understanding more about Kvothe as a character throughout the whole thing. The narrator was really good, but I think because it's a male narrator and he has quite a deep voice, I found that quite difficult to hear in my car, like over the engine. I don't know how to explain that it felt difficult to hear. I had to have my car turned up on like full volume sometimes just to be able to hear it, especially with some of the moments where he was whispering or they were talking quietly. So the audio on the audiobook felt a little bit inconsistent, because I normally have to have them turned up slightly louder in my car, but not normally by that much. So that was a little bit annoying, but such a minor thing. Really enjoyed this book. I will be going on to read The Wise Man's Fear, but I'm just going to take a little break first, because the audiobook for The Wise Man's Fear, which is the sequel, is 42 hours long. So that was the second book I finished this week. So then in terms of what I'm currently reading, it would have been The Famous Five, but I finished that this morning. So the next physical book I'm going to be starting is The Player of Games by Ian N. Banks, which is my book club pick for this month. And The Hobbit was my March book club pick, so I'm reading this. It's now exactly the middle of the month, so I'm making sure that I will definitely get it done this month. I'm doing quite well with my physical TBR this month, so genuinely quite pleased. But I will be starting that tonight using the audiobook on Spotify because we're still in our co-reading era. In terms of the audiobook, I started on my drive home from my mum's yesterday. I started To Love Jason Thorne by Ella Mays. I think I spoke about that in yesterday's clip, but it's really nice to have a romance palette cleanser. I feel like I've been reading a lot of fantasy and historical and quite heavy books, so to have just a nice contemporary romance, I managed to listen to 25% of it in one drive. This is what I needed, and I am enjoying it as much as you can enjoy a really stereotypical contemporary romance. It's the palette cleanser for sure. But that's everything that I have been reading or am currently reading at the moment. It's nice to be able to have a stack of 5 books to talk about all in one vlog. That's a lot for me. April's definitely been my rejuvenated, fully back into reading era. Yeah, this has been nice. Sorry this vlog's been a little bit inconsistent, but I had a busy week, and now that my meds have finally settled and hopefully I won't be changing the dose or the time of day that I take them anymore, hopefully things should be on the up from here. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you're enjoying whatever book you're reading. Please do let me know about it in the comments. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll see you next time for another bookish video.